Welcome everyone, Tuesday meditation. I'm just going to drop in to the heart. Beautiful, expanded presence, 50,000 femtotesla field in the chest. Just basking in the glow. Just dropping into timelessness, free of time, just floating, good feeling, attracting the healing. We live in time, yet we're timeless beings. I just want to get in touch with that part. Underneath the egoic, underneath the stoic, underneath all the thoughts, all the noise. Just dropping deeper. It's like the inner sanctuary is always waiting, it's always there. Beautiful peace just waiting for you. If we were as good as emptying our brains as we are as good as filling them up, we would have it even more together. So this ability to empty the brain, relax the content of consciousness at will, just releasing all this accumulation. It's like cleaning out an old closet. It's like a inner sweeping out of the heart, removing the debris of the day, of the past. Delicious oxygen. Oxygen has been hard to come by out here on the West Coast. That's not full of smoke. So we're very happy today that the weather is better. Friends in Oregon are reporting some sunshine coming through. Yay for that. So we just want to blaze with that inner sunshine. Send rain where it's needed. We are the weather. We are electromagnetic fields affecting fields. We can send all kinds of grace and blessings in the blink of an eye, with a single thought, right out of the heart. We're sending the blessings to all those folks you know that need it. It's just important when people are so collectively down. So we'll just take a minute. Just hold space for the firefighters, all the folks with toxic air. We're just sending them a cleanser for their lungs, deleting toxins in their body, just sending it all to the black hole. And we breathe. Just noticing that you're noticing, going deeper than the body, deeper than the mind, into that beautiful, spacious graciousness, spaciousness of your heart. Just bask in the glow, the good feeling that attracts the healing. Just letting all the sounds around you just find their natural place. The sounds within you, your thoughts. If you sit quietly long enough, thoughts will find their place. There's a lot of information in the vacuum space right now. When this many people are distressed, when this many people are introverted, or at home, going inside, whether they're meditating or not, there's a collective shift. There's more concentration of information in the stillness. So if we just sit really still, it's not boring. It's actually loaded with force, loaded with cosmic information. So if we just have the patience and the stillness to distill this information, your brain is acting as a transducer. If we can't keep up with the speed of light, it's going to transduce it down to 200-mile-an-hour thoughts, which are fine and dandy, but less handy than your intuitive thoughts, I would suggest, because intuitive thoughts are moving at 186,000 miles a second, and your other thoughts are hanging back. So we just want to drop into the speed of light place. What does that mean? You are biophotonic, just acknowledging the light flow in the body. It's a golden, warm consciousness, fluidity. Just breathe into that electric pressure, the DNA driving the life force through your body, balancing with the hydrogens. The beautiful balance of water that you are. Water occupies this perfect position in the body. Water is the hydrogen, the pH, the measure against which the body operates. If we go too much into density, acidity, contraction, time for that matter, things get thicker, more difficult, more painful, more pressured. Right? So we want to bring this equation back to center. Not too alkaline, but more alkaline to compensate for the acidity or the compression. And so we want to lighten. So as you move towards space, we are space beings. You move towards space, and there's a huge expansion, opening, clarification. The density is released back to the water pressure level. And when the water isn't overly pressured one side or the other, it's pure gratitude. Let's just experience that. The water energy, the water levels, the water itself in your body, 60-70% of you distilling into gratitude, beautiful feeling. If you want, you can take your palms and rub them together. Very powerful energies in your palms. This is the yin polarity, positive polarity. We're going to put them over the eyes. Relaxing the brain, relaxing the eyeballs. You can massage the eyeballs lightly with the palms if you feel like it. Breathing through the nose, exhaling. Beautiful blue of consciousness. If you're seeing black, that's fine. It may arc into blue. Just relaxing the eyeballs, enjoying this inner sanctum of peace. And then you can remove your palms. Just feel that lightness. Beautiful feeling, softening. That might be one of the most important yogic, call it, prompts, right? We tend to tense, we tend to get stiff, and then we remember, softening. That's a multi-vectored energy, right? It's not just pushing your arm this way or pulling this way. It's quantum, right? All directions. And we breathe. Just bringing in, let's call it, without being overly political, just the blue wave coming in, right? This water power, this blueness. I was playing the raga Bhupali earlier, just thinking of it as Blue Pali today. It's a pentatonic raga. Just feel the blue of the sky of consciousness within you. The fire colors in the base, the oranges, the yellows. It's like the core of the earth, core of your being. But as you get up to the heart level, green's out. Feel the green flow, and then arcing into the blue. The sky of consciousness within your body. Just hang out in the blue fire as a counterpart to the red fires, orange fires, of the ultraviolet part of the spectrum, balancing out the infrared. Inflammation tends to be red, right? As Mars right now is square the sun. So we have the red planet is stationary, is moving backwards, is creating massive resistance in the red fields. So what does that mean? A symptom in the body means you are healing. We think, oh, I need to be healed, I have a symptom. But actually the symptom is the healing from the inside out point of view. And so this symptom right now, it's like a whole crust coming off the country, just burning right off. Let's say that's the past, the old ways of doing things. Essentially, we can solve a problem in two ways, right? We can do it from the inside out, or we can relativize it on the outside. So to make this relevant, this fire, if we put it in the larger picture, it's easier to accommodate. See this as a generational thing, right? Every 80 years there's a big burn-off, right? Whether it's a revolutionary war, a civil war, a Second World War. In the Second World War, Germany was on fire, Europe was on fire, right? 80 years later, these cycles command again. There's fire again. Only the bombings aren't falling from planes, right? The bombs seem to be coming out of our psyche, right? The civil strife, unrest, confusion, the fire principle out of balance. So meditation is perhaps the greatest way to bring any element back into balance, because it takes that scrambled show that you might be feeling and it just compresses it all into an alignment down the middle of the body. See, that's the linearity you want. Ultimately, you want non-linear, because non-linear is emotional in a beautiful way, right? It's the supreme self, expanded consciousness. Life is non-linear, right? But the spine is in alignment, the stamba, Gandhi's agraha, this firmness that's there that we need to handle this waveform. This beautiful balance of firmness. So meditation is kind of interesting combination of firmness and total bliss, right? Total release. So let's notice that within yourself, this interesting balance of firmness and softness. So in your own way, reconcile that. Just feel that. What does that mean in your body? Where are you tense? Where are you holding? Where do you need to get soft? And yet, where are you too relaxed? Maybe too, you need to tighten up a little bit. Get that dynamic tension in place. So we breathe, find a posture that works, balancing the 20-pound head. Find that perfect pivot. centripetal energies, attracting, magnetizing, aligning, good feeling. We breathe. From this atomic element point of view, your body is an expression of compression. Right? We've got all kinds of atomic elements jammed in there, trying to figure out the comfortable space. So you might have some elements out of balance, in which case these elements, the job of the elements is to sustain and maintain the pressure grid and each octave of pressure that it works in. So let's go up high for a minute. We'll go up to the hydrogen. If you have a glass of water, you could take a sip of water. It's fresh hydrogen, good stuff. Hydrogen and oxygen, the pH of your body, the percentage of the hydrogen is the determining factor. And so these lighter elements, you want to arc into the lighter elements. Why? Because the compression of the body pushes everything into the deeper substratum of the atomic table. So you are made of heavy metals as well, right? There's a uranium component. You're radioactive. So this compression can lead to depression, but we want to reverse that, right? So that we spend more time in the lighter parts of your being, out of time. You might be in time, but you can be in timelessness while you are activating. It's an interesting trick. But it happens by itself when we meditate. Yeah, meditation solves every problem. So we distill, we come to the stillness. The stillness clears the illness. Peace. Just noticing the sounds. It's almost like your brain has crickets, right? They're these very subtle sounds. Just listening to the sounds will help you notice the breath. Because the breath is probably the loudest sound in your body at the moment. If your thoughts are disturbing you, you can just request that they check in later. Talk to them like they're friends. When you get really still, it's like you notice where the things that are in the wrong place are. You can move them into the right place. And everything flows. client once who invited me over to ostensibly fix their economic issues. And he had a great big a satchel, briefcase full of papers and financial reports. And looking at the satchel, I could just feel there's nothing that doesn't have anything to do with this person's issue, right? In that moment. It's just like, okay, he thinks the problem is financial. But I'm looking around at his living room. And the living room is like, oh my God, you can't sit anywhere, right? It's this giant piano blocking everything. And so I said, well, your problem is feng shui here. Your problem is the piano. And he looked at me like I was nuts. I'm like, what? What do you mean? I want you to fix my financials. I was like, well, first, I need to fix your piano. So he couldn't grasp that. So I said, well, let's just move it and I'll show you what I mean. So we moved the piano into the right place. And then it was like a Chinese puzzle. All the other little pieces just naturally found their way into the right alignment, which then allowed the stuff in the kitchen to be brought back into the living room and put in the right place, which created the right space for his wife to cook again. And that was the relationship issue, which was leading to a financial stress for various reasons. So that's kind of a little story about how it is that what we think is wrong with us is not even what the problem really is, right? And so I would say in my work as a healer, this is 98% of the situations, right? There are those 2% where it's just physical, right? Maybe you send them to the skin doctor or something, but most issues, it's almost like, put it like this, there's a movie out called The Social Dilemma, which everyone should see. And one of the points is that there's a supercomputer on the other side of the screen looking back at you. And you don't know this, right? You're just thinking you're texting your friends. And so there's this massive imbalance going on some level here, right? And so compare that to the body, right? There's all these problems we have in the subconscious, unconscious, that are just like elephants in the room, but we're mad about the wastebasket has a scratch on it or something, right? That has nothing to do with the problem ultimately, right? That's kind of the release valve for the problem. So with that thought, let's self-reflect. Like, whatever you might think your problem is, maybe it's not. So just refresh it, reframe it, take a look at it. Where's the real charge coming from? What are you really upset about? Are you mad at God? Right? Are you mad at mom? I mean, it goes back to family usually. Matter of fact, Carl Jung would say there's no such thing as mental illness, there's just family issues. And so the family issues can extend out to your workplace and your friends. So really it's a very interesting psychic entanglement. So the best way to get out of a tangle, best way to avoid a big wave coming at you is to go underneath it. So let's just do that, right? Just continuously teaching ourselves to drop in a little deeper. If there's an issue, go underneath the thing, and then it sort of crusts off, right? It's really not the issue. So, right? And then you end up negotiating with the deeper part of yourself, which was really the intention of the symptom, I would suggest, right? The symptom is like a clue. It's like a divine hint, kind of telling you something. So just check in. Notice, what's your real issue? What's bothering you? That's the clue usually. The color purple could bother you, right? You never know what could bother you. So you have to defrag the thing, right? It's assumed a kind of a charge trigger. It needs to be defragged, right? It shouldn't be doing that. I'll tell you another great story. There was a lady in Santa Barbara who had to go to Santa Fe to sell her house, but the problem was she was allergic to sage. and knew that she would have a big reaction staying there, and was hoping maybe I could help her pre-anticipate this somehow, so remove it in advance, like forgive into the future. And this was over the phone, and I said, well, I tested it. It showed up as what I would call a psychic issue, which means it has to do with the other life. I said, okay, we're going to drop into meditation and just listen in and see what comes up when you think about Santa Fe and sage and houses. So we meditated, and then ding, a couple minutes later, she's like, oh my God, I totally got it. I said, what did you experience? I said, well, she said she regressed back into the other life where she was hiding in a sage bush from a marauding tribe. I think she was an Apache. And this other tribe was unfortunately massacring her tribe. And she witnessed it as a child from the sage bush. So that would make sense, wouldn't it? Right? That in this life, sage is the trigger, right? Sage becomes sort of jammed up with trauma there, right? So she doesn't remember that it was her family in this life, but just the smell of sage does it. So what else in your life is doing such a thing? Right? What are you allergic to? What is that you can't deal with? That's like gold, right? You think, oh, that's a horrible thing, but actually that's a clue to what's going on with you on some level, or what might need to be undone, perhaps. So we'll drop in with that thought again, and just feel, track it back a bit. Like this iceberg is bigger underwater than on the surface. So don't get fooled by the surface. Don't get fooled by the fires, right? Don't get fooled by the politics. Yes, those things are happening, but what's underneath it? It's like Yellowstone volcano, right? There's something much more massive happening that happens every 80 years, right? We're regenerating a new cycle. And so all this old dysfunctional stuff has to fall away, right? It's not working for us. And even stuff we like, perhaps. So we surrender on some deep level to God or to the universe, to this self-correcting nature. And that brings peace, right? That's the macro you can apply to a situation that puts it in perspective. And if that's not working for you, we can do it from the inside out. Meaning you can relativize it with your response. In other words, you can decide how you want to respond. And that's your free will, right? That's the beauty of the inside out. You're in charge from that point of view. So let's just go there. It's like the screen we're watching in the world is a big screen. Then it seems like there's this other screen, invisible beings, much more subtle realities, more powerful realities actually. What's more subtle is more powerful than what's gross, right? We see a million examples of that. So when we meditate, we're dropping into parts of us that are more subtle. And they're harder to grasp, right? You have to be more subtle. You have to get more subtle to get with the subtlety that you are. And it just takes a lifetime. But here we are doing that. Excavating, going deeper, allowing. Don't let yesterday's thoughts hijack you today. All right? We want a new creativity. Nice deep breath. Releasing the past, releasing analyzing your past. We want to create the future. That's a stronger alignment. That's more in sync with what Jung and these archetypal psychologists are suggesting. That we go forward, not backwards. We use our active imagination to refresh reality, to regenerate our life. So just releasing the past. Meditation is the depressurization station, right? It's the opportunity to drop down deeper, 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 deeper. Good feeling, good feeling. What we're really doing is we're moving from the physical body into the universe of the subtle body. The physical body is we need to attend to in a million ways. Remember, my guru used to say, Americans have everything except right understanding, meaning they don't get the subtle body thing, right? Their subtle bodies are a mess. Outwardly, they look great, but inside, they're a mess. Okay, so let's check this out. Obamacare doesn't take care of your subtle body. For that, you need Sudamacare. You need this sort of alignment, right? To know who you are, to drop into this place. Drop into taking care of your subtle energy body. It's almost more important than your physical. Well, that's arguable. But if your physical is okay, then you have time and space to work with the deeper body. It's like first food, then God, right? You can't get God if you're hungry, right? You have to satisfy the body. So we're satisfying the body. Meditation is a delicious satisfaction, alignment. It puts us in touch with the present moment. Allows all your sense perceptions to deliciously untangle themselves, refresh themselves. Things smell better after meditation. Things look more colorful. Look in the mirror, you'll look better. There'll be more energy coming out of you rather than some collapsing thing where when you look in the mirror and you're collapsing, you can see that going on, right? It doesn't feel good. So we turn it back around, blaze it back from the inside out. It's really where you start from, right? You're going to start from the outside and try to go in? Sure. But you could just start from the inside and go deeper. Sort of like apply as the CEO, not as the janitor, right? Start further down the line. Okay, so we're just, all of this is to help you go deeper. These things come through, these little bits of wisdom that some of these things I think up in advance to tell you, but to be honest, most of them just going to come through when we're doing this because we can't predict that, right? If we're really in the flow, it's got a mind of its own. And that's the beauty of it. Right? It already knows what it's doing, seems to be the case. So we just need to get with that, right? Rather than think we have to control it. It's like using force, which is useless. So we're just dropping into the real power, the pure I am power. And the degree of your I am power, you could quantify it by the ability that you have to just sit still, right? If you can't sit still, like Mark Twain said, that's where all the problems in the world come from, like our inability to sit still. And he ripped that off of the Greeks, but that seems to be the truth. So we're just going to sit still. You probably have bad associations when the teacher says, you have to go sit in the corner. Bad. Let's undo that, right? Let's come back to it's fine to just sit there and be still. And breathing. Just keep dropping into the timeless place. There's no rush. Notice time is getting less important unless you're in a hurry. Just breathing. So as we drop into that place, there's a freedom there. I was trying to remember a phrase yesterday, and the phrase is a quote by Carl Jung where he says, what we have to do is rescue ourselves from the disease of literalism. Literally, right? In other words, we have to engage in the imagination. We need to be rescued by art, because otherwise we'll be kind of a lemming, kind of a conformist, kind of boring, right? Consciousness is way too amazing for us to just contract, right, into the past. It's inviting us, right, to create, come up with new realities, right? Identity is act of the imagination. It's not an easy task, right, to create this being that you are. But when we get really still and that force flows through us, it seems to fluff everything up. So it's a lot easier to be what it is you want to be when you have the river running with you rather than against it. And so this river that runs through you, river runs through it, just feel this river of time is really what it is. Yesterday we did a little exploration into some of the advanced physics understandings of such a thing. I thought I'd wait till we were more slowed down to broach that anymore. Just kind of like lots of space for this to even think these sort of thoughts. Beautiful space. Because that's what we are, right? We are a vacuum space reality. This infinite vacuum of consciousness is totally full. I remember a Buddhist monk came to visit Baba one time, and the Buddhist monk said, "Baba, what about the void? Emptiness." And Baba looked at him and said, "Well, what about it? What about the witness of the void?" And the monk had nothing to say about that. It was like, oh my God, right? Revelation. So the part of you that's watching the void. That way you can avoid the void and be the observer. Be more the viewer than the doer. This is helpful. And so people are concerned, what if I merge into the great void? I'll become nobody, I'll be lost. I'm just in the sea of sauce. It's like, well, the fact that you're the observer guarantees you that you're not going to be lost, because you are already a concentrated quantum of consciousness, right? Whatever that is what we are is so amazing, right? That seed is not going to get lost. Guaranteed seed. Not going to get lost. No matter what crazy universes you're flying through. You're the seed. All right, this is your vehicle. So let's drop down to that. It's like that micro being that we are in the heart. This, in the scriptures in India, it says the thumb-sized Purusha means it's saying you're this big, really. Your astral body is this big. So we're just going to find this sort of glowing white part. There's a part in the heart a spot that's so hot, if you touch it, you literally burn your finger. That's between the AV node and the SA node in the right atrium. It's the sort of the electrical portion. So let's take the right hand and just put it over your heart. Maybe the left hand over the right hand, and giving love to your heart, love to your right atrium. Let's clear the heart. Systolic, diastolic, integration. All the oracles, ventricles, chambers, valves, coming to balance, coming to peace. Beautiful heart that we are. Just thanking your heart for working so hard. It beats 115,000 times a day. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Even if you thanked your heart just once an hour, wouldn't that be profound? I'm thanking all the organs and the glands in the body. These guys don't get enough love from us. And it's that love that keeps you safe, right? That beautiful feeling will keep you safe, because it won't attract negative. Negative electric pressure attracts negative. Neutral positive pressure. It's like those lieutenants in the army. They go and rescue the sergeant in the flurry of bullets, and the bullets just don't hit the guy because he's in an angelic state. There's no negative charge to hit. So if you have no negative charge in your body, you can't get hit by a truck. You won't get into a car accident. People won't be angry at you. You won't be angry at yourself, right? Negative charge seems to be the issue. So we're just going to drop back into neutral positive. And let's say the heart is neutral, God is neutral, the blood is neutral, iron and nickel conduct in this sort of interesting neutral way. So just feel the conductivity of the body, the life force flowing through you. And just bask in that beautiful flow. Just let that sound take you a little deeper. This is a tanpura. It's 4 strings. Here comes the bride. It's a 5th octave, deeper octave. The 5th is like your heart. And the other octave is the fullness of your spine. Feel that golden mean ratio. The phi ratio of the heart. lo-fi, love. Just feeling the love. So what is time? Time arises out of the vacuum. Ultimately, it's compressed space, according to the physicists. This amazing book will explain everything if you have a few extra moments. Energy from the Vacuum by Thomas Bearden. So he explains that time and space arise up out of the vacuum. They're attracted by this negative charge that then is turned into a depressurization station. It turns into a positive charge, and then it goes back into the vacuum. And that seems to be the river of time. It arises and goes back to where it came from. In the meantime, you get to go river rafting. So we're just breathing with the flow of time. It's called nega entropy, the cycle of time. You could say it takes us out of God and back into God. Out of the great void and back into the great void. And we love the journey. Matter of fact, we're kind of addicted to it. What is addiction exactly? Well, that's a long answer, but one understanding is that your mind gets out of sorts with your body, right? It's so powerful. It can just go and create all these bizarro realities, and then it doesn't know how to settle into the endocrine situation, right? So you remain out of sorts. So we want to just bake the mind, right? In India, the word for a siddhahood, to be a siddha, to be a perfected master, comes from this verb siddha, which means to cook. So when you're cooked, that's good, right? You're baked and you're in bliss. Right? That's why we kind of want to bake ourselves in a divine way through the heat of tapasya, right? This fire of yoga, this fire of consciousness, the blue fire of awareness. It's a coherency, it's a symmetry, it's a clear beam. We breathe. There's nothing quite like contentment. It's self-contained. Contentment, right? Your content is secure. You're content. But if a fire just burned up all your content, well, that's not good. So we got to make sure, right, that our content is really unassailable, right? It's in the deepest place of the Supreme Self, which nobody could ever take away. can deny. My favorite book title is Getting Rid of What You Haven't Got. That could mean a lot of things. Get rid of this idea that you don't have what you want. See, I guess the yogic equation would be to say you are already what you're looking for, you are already what you want. And you just have to get quiet enough to feel that, because otherwise we're too agitated to even engage with that deeper contentment. So art, the Dalai Lama is refraining art, meaning saying we need storytellers, we need artists, we need craftsmen, we need people that come back to the heart, back to giving, back to love. Enough of this domination stuff, right? Let that burn at this point. The way I see it, the dominator model has been in effect for thousands of years, and every time we have what's called a gigantic burst, like a Jesus shows up or a Buddha shows up, or all this beautiful information about how to live shows up, then it gets crushed again by the dominator weirdness. And that's kind of been the case for quite a while. But me is thinking that something's shifting, that this dominator model is finally up against itself in a weird way. We just want to slip out the side door, kind of like go underneath that wave. Don't even engage it. It's like a dinosaur breaking down. Right? It's this old model, reptilian brain generated society. It's changing, right? So how do we surf that? Well, the path of least resistance is always a good thought. That's essentially another way to translate meditation. So before we end today, let's take a look at what it is that the mind actually does. Right? It likes to hijack everything. It wants to hijack your heart, basically. And the problem is, it's not a good master, right? It's a good follower. Mind. So let's talk to it. Mind. Literally, just talk to your mind. We won't think you're crazy. The Tibetan monks do this. Right? That's what they do. They say, mind, be quiet. Because they know it's a force. It's like a hungry dog. Just can't get enough. So we pull the plug on the appliance of the mind, i.e. meditation, drop down into the inner vacation, where there's less population, a nice sandy beach of your own making. And breathe. You can take a really deep breath. And then slow release. Still releasing. This is obviously easier to do after you've been meditating for a while and everything's slowed down. Otherwise you're kind of out of breath trying to do it. It's pure agitation. So the mind likes to take the form of what it meditates on, right? Haven't you experienced this every time you have a movement of the mind? So it grabs the thing, right? You become the thing that you meditate on, and then you become all these other things, and then there's all these other things, and by the end of the day, you're just chock-a-block, right? There's just no space. When I was a grad student, I was a grad student for about almost 8 years, and I got so full, my brain was so full of books, I didn't read for 3 years after that. I left academics and did not read a book for 3 years, seriously. It's just way too full, right? So this is what happens. So we want to defrag the brain, right? Just allow all of that stuff to just defrag, content free. In other words, the mind taking the form of what it meditates on as a giant spacious thing, like the ocean, the sky, the galaxy, that will expand your mind, right? That's obvious. So what would be the suggestion? Spend more time thinking giant thoughts, right? Because they give you a lot of space. So think a nice big thought right now. Just imagine peace. And do you hear the incredible overtone is happening in the tambura right now? I was actually hearing little bells there for a minute. That's when all the waveforms are nesting together. It's like two flutes playing the same melody perfectly, enhances the waveforms. Otherwise they clash, right? And like we all do. So that's an example. If you're helping someone, you're literally supporting their waveform. You're going to have tremendous resonance. It's going to feel really good like this sound. All these strings working together. You hear that? It's like the good humor man in the distance. You can hear these little bells. And I'm not just hearing things. It doesn't happen every stroke. There it is. I was thinking it was my phone in the other room for a while. Blessings, my friends. Have a beautiful evening wherever you are. And these meditations are Each week we send them over to the YouTube channel. There's a whole host of them now. Please enjoy, please sign up, subscribe, push the button. And yes, my partner is telling me that I'm Sudelma Mark Kennedy. I already know that.
On your YouTube channel.
On my YouTube channel. Yeah, well, they know that. Okay. Namaste, everyone. See you next Monday. I love you. 5 o'clock. I don't know the subject yet. It will download. Namaste.